So Jensen from NVIDIA just announced the NemoClaw project at the opening keynote of NVIDIA GTC conference. So there was a wonderful presentation on how OpenClaw as a project has completely taken over on open source side of things. It has crossed React from Facebook and Linux from Linus Torvalds, and it has now become the most popular open source project. So NVIDIA officially announced NVIDIA NemoClaw, which you can think of as being that while OpenClaw is a foundational open source agentic framework, NemoClaw is NVIDIA's enterprise-ready reference design, which is built on top of OpenClaw to ensure security and privacy. So here's a reference architecture of what NemoClaw basically does. And one of the key differences is that while OpenClaw allows agents to communicate externally and execute code, which is risky for businesses, NemoClaw introduces OpenShell to provide a secure environment, creating a privacy router and policy guardrails to keep your data safe. And it has a lot of enterprise integrations. So it has been designed to directly connect with a corporation's existing policy engine and security infrastructure, making it a lot more suitable for corporates to use instead of OpenClaw. And NemoClaw is more optimized to work with NVIDIA's frontier open source models like the Nemotron 3, which is also announced a few days ago. So one of the key aspects here is the OpenShell, because that's essentially an integrated security technology that ensures both enterprise ready and private capabilities, helping us to reduce unauthorized access to sensitive information. And those are some of the key aspects. And it also has this policy guardrail and privacy router to safely manage and protect your data while the agent will essentially execute tasks. And this allows us to create a lot safer OpenClaw strategy for companies to adopt OpenClaw and agentic behavior. So this is the high-level reference architecture. And you can also find the overall open source docs. So it is an open source project, so you can find more details about NemoClaw over here. And the installation instructions are given here. Now, generally, it would be needed that you might have either a NIM-based inference, but you can also do inference locally if you have VLLM. So we have dedicated guides on how to switch between the different inference providers. Now, by default, like let's say if you're using a Mac and you don't have access to an NVIDIA-based GPU, you also get the option of either choosing Ollama, or you can also sign up on developer.nvidia.com and get an API key, and you can set that and use that as well as a reference. So you can take a look at all of the list of available models that are present, and if you want to set up a local VLLM or a local NIM service for on-prem deployment. But for now, let's go through the quick start guide. And the first things first, what you have to do is you have to clone the GitHub repository, and then you run this shell command. You can just take a look at what the shell command does. So here you can see that this is the official installer for NemoClaw, and what we are doing is we are first installing Node.js, then we are actually installing the NemoClaw package, then we go ahead and run a NemoClaw onboard. And what it does is a few things. So it will also install OpenShell, because we are using OpenShell as our security. So for that, you would require to run a Docker. So in fact, let's go ahead and run the entire installation script right now. So here you'll be able to see that during the onboarding script, it automatically detects that it's running Docker and OpenShell, and it detects my Apple GPU. So instead, it will give us the option of being able to choose either the cloud version. Now, the only difference is that with the cloud NVIDIA model, you get very severely rate limited. And the other option is you can also choose Ollama. So if you are on let's say a platform where you don't have the NVIDIA GPU, you can still use the cloud service. So they have available options with Ollama. We'll just now wait for it to initialize the environment. So what it's doing is it's waiting for the OpenShell namespace, and we'll just wait for a minute for it to complete. So now, after it has connected to OpenShell, I can also add my sandbox. So I'll just do NVIDIA Open NemoClaw. So it'll help us to create a sandbox so it can run all of the different agentic commands securely within the NemoClaw. And now it will set up all of these for us. And once it has done, so it's, setting up the sandbox, installing and executing OpenClaw inside of that particular sandbox. So that also adds to the overall the security. But apart from that, you can also see here, you can also monitor the full-fledged sandbox activity and debug issues. So you have dedicated commands that allow you to do that over here. Because under the hood, it is setting up OpenClaw for us, because the underlying architecture it is using OpenClaw as its space, but it adds the networking and the security policies which are necessary for companies to adopt this. So that is why we have dedicated network policies and deployments for both on-prem and also for deploy to a remote GPU instance. And here is like the architecture of the overall blueprint, inference routing, how that takes place. So, the agent will run in the sandbox, and then we have the OpenShell gateway, which allows you to connect it to your external. So by default is the NVIDIA cloud, for which you can sign up and get the API key, or you have VLLM or even Olava. So here now we have set OpenClaw inside of the sandbox. So now we can just proceed with the basic presets, and now it will go ahead and start to apply all of these presets onto our application. And that's it. So our installation has been complete. Now, in order to get started, so here you can see that if we go to the quick start guide, we can take a look to chat with our agent. We will just copy the name that we have done. So NVIDIA NemoClaw. So we'll do NemoClaw, the name of our agent, and then connect. So I'll do NemoClaw and then connect. So this will allow us to open up the TUI. So in this case, we are using the CLI, and we can very easily now try to go ahead and run this. So for example, if I want the terminal user interface for OpenClaw, I can now run this over here and start to work with this. So for example, if I say hi, it should ideally work, because it will be able to detect, like if you're using the NVIDIA cloud, it will be able to detect what is the model. But so in this case, you can see here that it automatically detected the NVIDIA Nemotron 3 Super 120 billion parameter model, because we are using the NVIDIA cloud, and we can now start to interact with our OpenClaw. So of course, this was the TUI, but if you also are looking to connect with the GUI, you can also run the GUI as well. So if I just go ahead and go to localhost over here, so let's go to localhost 118.769. So you can see here that we also have our OpenClaw dashboard, and you can take a look at the list of all the agents. So you can always also have a chat here, and if it is configured properly, you should also be able to leverage the GUI and set all of your specific instances. So you can see that under the hood, it is using OpenClaw, but the only difference is that now with the NemoClaw, it's an OpenClaw built for enterprises from a security and networking lens. So that's a quick overview of what NemoClaw is capable with. In order to get started, you can run it on a Mac, Linux machine, no matter where, because you have the capability to connect to cloud models as well. But if you have a NIM service, if you are using GPUs from NVIDIA, you can always choose for the local deployment as well. So that's a quick overview of the NVIDIA NemoClaw. Thank you so much.